Hi everybody, Dr. Zach here, and I wanted to keep this conversation that we've been having based around the question, what if? I wanted to keep this conversation going. Had some conversations over the weekend that just kind of carried on with this, and I was posed the question, what if every health condition we have isn't actually a drug deficiency? Have you ever thought about that? You know, that's the way that everything is treated, right? If you got a headache, it's an aspirin deficiency. If you've got sore throat, it's a vitamin C deficiency, or maybe even, you need some kind of an antibiotic that you're deficient in. With COVID, it's either an ivermectin deficiency or an HCQ deficiency or remdesivir deficiency or whatever. So we've got all of these deficiencies. If you're sad, that's a Prozac deficiency, right? So we've got everything that's treated as if it's some kind of a deficiency. What if that's not actually the case? Well, I came across a great article this morning. It's actually at a Time magazine and written by Jennifer Margulis. And the title of the article is, "What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger." And it's an article about a 61-year-old gentleman who had been diagnosed with Hodgkin lymphoma. And it had spread, so he was actually supposed to begin some chemotherapy to deal with this lymphoma, this cancer that he had. And unfortunately, before he had a chance to get started with that, he contracted COVID, test positive for COVID. Turns out to be a pretty bad case. Ends up in the hospital with COVID pneumonia. And was fortunate. He made it through all of that and then recovered. And when he got home from the hospital and kind of started resuming his life again, he went back and met with his oncologist, and they did some more testing, and they found that his Hodgkin lymphoma was almost completely resolved. And it's interesting is that people who have looked at things like this isn't an unusual occurrence. That there's stories over and over and over again about people getting a viral infection, and a viral infection actually kicking into gear their immune system to work even more effectively, work harder, and then they find other bigger issues that actually resolve as a result of that. In fact, I've alluded to this story numerous times about back in the 60s and 70s, kids like me that had asthma, and at that time that was relatively uncommon. But having asthma, greater propensity towards upper respiratory infections. And so there's a pediatrician who would follow these kids that were asthmatics that ended up with pneumonia, and he would follow them through their course of pneumonia, and whenever possible, not intervene with antibiotics, but actually let this disease process run its course. And so if we take a look at pneumonia, it can be a